Alright. Okay. So here we are. We've got all the liquid in. I need to add some salt. So generally 2% salt to the flour. So this is, we're going to have 500 grams of flour, so 10 grams of salt, which is a little bit over a teaspoon. So here, not a teaspoon, I'm going to add a little bit because we like stuff salty. So 10 grams of salt, and now flour. So here I've got my bread flour right here. Don't use all-purpose flour if you can avoid it. There's extra gluten in the bread flour, and it will make your bread a lot have better texture. So here I'm going to go ahead and add 500 grams. It's a little bit over 3 cups, depending on how compact your flour is. So a little bit more. There we go. And you can use a spoon to stir this up. Here, this is a special dough tool that makes it really easy to stir this up. This bowl is perhaps a little bit small to do this in. Stir it up. Yeah. You could use a wooden spoon here too. It'll work okay. And if you want a smaller loaf, then just do half the amount. So this would make basically a 1 kilogram loaf almost. So a little over 2 pounds, which is a pretty good sized loaf. You could do half the amount and get a smaller loaf. Stir this right here. And then cover it. So making bread this way, you don't really need to use a mixer. Certainly don't need a bread maker. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that up right here. And cover it up. So these shower caps actually work pretty well. You can get them on Amazon really, really cheap. Cover it up right there. Just set it aside. Right? And then 8 hours, let it rest for about 8 hours. And then, so over here, this bread has been resting for about that long. I use these containers right here. I've got this bread right here, so it's ready. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it here on the counter. And then the next step is going to be to sort of form the loaf. And it's going to rise for a couple more hours. I'll use this same spoon directly here on the counter. There we go. So this dough is a little bit sticky, not too sticky. Yes, I'm shooting a video. Alright, so here we go. So this loaf is basically ready. And the next step we want to do is we want to let it, you can do the final proofing for a couple of hours. And you can cook it in a greased bread pan, or what you can do is you can put it in a bowl and get a nice shape. So for example, this shape would give a nice shape of a... Henry's got to check his messages from his friends. Okay, Henry, you done checking your message? Okay, alright. So here I'm going to go ahead and put some rice flour on here. So you can, of course, buy rice flour, or you can take some rice and stick it in your blender and make your own. These are pretty fine. The reason you use this is because, so if I'm going to be sticking this in, so here is a banneton basket right here. And so here's a liner, or you can put it directly on the inside, but the dough will stick to this. Can you hold it straight, please? Thanks, Henry. Yeah. Alright, but if you put rice flour on there, there's no gluten in it, or you could use corn flour as well, then it won't stick and it'll come out with a nicely shaped loaf. And so you can use this, but if you, I'm going to show you how to do it without that, since you probably don't have one of those lying around. And so here I'm just going to sprinkle some of this rice flour. You don't need it too much. I'm sort of sprinkling that on there. I find this container right here to be, this little bottle to be pretty good. And then what I do is I'm going to go ahead and lay this out right here. Henry, you gotta watch. Watch the phone. We're not going to get 1 million views if the cinematography is not great.
Oh yeah? I can spin this around.
Uh-oh. I think that's not going to help us, Henry.
It isn't?
No. Here we go. So here, I'm doing that like this. Go ahead and just put this.
I know. Put it on a stick and then sell it.
Put it on a stick and sell it. Okay.
Yeah. Someone will buy it.
I'm putting this right here, and then you take a little bit more of this rice flour and just put it on the edges, just so that as the dough rises, it doesn't stick to this. And then with that right there, let me see. One of these little things. They're only a couple of pennies, but I still don't want to throw them away. Keep using them. There we go. So this right here now needs to rise for a couple of hours. Okay. Or what you can do, what I usually do is I take this and I stick it in the fridge. And then, let me wash my hands here. So leave it in the fridge, and you can leave it in the fridge for several days, actually. And then when you're ready to make it, you grab it out of the fridge, right here, such as this stuff right here. Where is it? Oh man, dang it. People just shove stuff in the fridge right on top of my bread. Holy cow. Lame.
Smooshed.
Alright, a little smushed.
You think?
Yeah, it'll still be alright, but that's a little disappointing. So
well, next time, put it in the mini fridge.
Yeah, I think I might have tried using semolina this time. I didn't use corn flour this time. I used semolina, which is pasta flour that it's bigger, so not quite as much gluten exposed. So then what you would do, here, step back, Henry. So the way I bake it is in a roaster pan. So here's a roaster pan right here. If you have parchment paper, so this should sit out and get to like room temperature. I'll just show you the process of putting it in the roaster pan right here. So I'll take that right here, preheat the oven. So preheat the oven to, I don't know, 400. Okay, well it's not actually preheating. Well, you can show how to do it, I guess. If you have convection, turn on the convection. I don't know, 400, I usually do about 415, 425, 450, somewhere around there. Okay, then it will take a while to preheat. And then, so when this is sat out for a couple of hours, then you'll just take the loaf right here. So there's my, look at this, shaped loaf. And if you have one of these fancy tools right here, I don't really use it all that much, but here you can carve a design.
Can I do something on it?
Okay. What are you doing? Doing tic-tac-toe?
No, it's an H.
An H? Looks like an I to me.
H.
Okay. Why don't you do a cursive H? Alright, you can't do it too much. Like you gotta. This knife is probably a little bit dull. It has to be really sharp. Like any type of razor would be fine, but okay, you're kind of messing up my loaf. I'm gonna stick it back into proof because I'm not ready to bake it yet anyway.
Right, can I just like...
But anyway, you would then stick it in the preheated. Put the roaster pan in, preheat that too. Henry, stop it! You're mutilating my bread. So anyway, you would put it in there, and then you would put it in the oven when it's preheated and bake it for about 25 to 30 minutes. And then you take the lid off, since you have to put the lid on. And then take the lid off and let it bake for another 20 minutes or so. And you can check it. You check the bread until it gets as done as you want it. This makes for a really nice crispy loaf, which would be, if you need to have a good knife to cut it, it will be kind of a chore to cut. Anyway, so that's my basic process for making bread. And I can get you some starter if you want.